She survived Piers Morgan for 6 years. Nothing prepared her for this. In 12 years at Good Morning Britain, Susanna Reid has earned her reputation as the toughest interviewer on British breakfast television. She doesn't grandstand. She simply asks questions and waits, with that particular stillness that makes powerful people visibly uncomfortable. So when Meghan Markle agreed to appear on Good Morning Britain, her first UK television interview since leaving the country, the production team knew they had something special. Here was a chance for Susanna Reid to do what she does best: ask the questions everyone was thinking. What nobody anticipated was how badly Meghan would misread the situation. From the moment she sat down across from Susanna and Ed Balls, something was wrong. Her answers were too rehearsed, and when Susanna asked a simple question about her father, a subject Meghan had discussed publicly many times, what came back was a response so dripping with condescension that the entire studio fell silent. This is the story everyone's going to be talking about tomorrow. If you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We break down moments like this every single week. Let's get into it. The Good Morning Britain studio at ITN headquarters on Gray's Inn Road was buzzing with unusual energy. The guest booking had leaked the night before, and social media had been in overdrive ever since. Meghan Markle was returning to British television. Meghan arrived with an entourage that seemed excessive for a breakfast show. Publicist, assistant, someone carrying an iPad full of notes. She walked onto the set with a smile that was technically perfect, but somehow didn't warm the air. Her handshake with Susanna was brief. Her acknowledgement of Ed was perfunctory. "Meghan, welcome back to Britain," Susanna said, her voice professionally warm. "Thank you for being here." "Thank you for having me." 3 words, no elaboration, no returning of energy. The cameras began rolling. "So Meghan," Susanna began, "this is your first UK television interview since you left the country. A lot has happened in 5 years. Where do you want to start?" "I'd like to focus on the positive, the work we're doing, the impact we're making." "We'll certainly get to that, but I think viewers would like to understand where things stand with you in Britain. You left under difficult circumstances. Has your perspective changed at all?" Meghan's expression remained controlled. "My perspective is that I did what was necessary to protect my family." "Protect them from what specifically?" "From an environment that was causing genuine harm." "The media environment? The institutional environment? The family environment?" "All of the above, frankly." Susanna nodded. "That's quite a comprehensive indictment. Let's break it down. When you say institutional environment, I don't think I want to relitigate things that have been extensively discussed. But you just raised them. You said the environment was causing harm. If you're going to make that claim, surely you can specify what you mean." Meghan's smile tightened. "I specified extensively in our Netflix documentary, in the Oprah interview, in Harry's book. The information is available." "It is, and some of it has been disputed. Some of the timeline issues, some of the specific claims. This would be an opportunity to clarify." "I don't feel the need to clarify for people who've chosen to misunderstand." Ed leaned in gently. "I think what Susanna's getting at is that there's genuine curiosity." "Curiosity or interrogation?" Meghan's eyes shifted to him. "Because this feels like the latter." The studio had gone quiet. Susanna's expression didn't change, but something sharpened behind her eyes. "Interrogation would be hostile questions designed to make you look bad. I've asked you where things stand with Britain and what you meant by harmful environment. Those are friendly questions, Meghan, basic ones." "Your framing suggests otherwise." "What framing? I literally asked you to specify what you meant. That's clarification, not attack." The tone has been professional. I've been doing this for decades. I know the difference between tough and hostile. This has been soft." Meghan sat back slightly. "Perhaps our definitions differ." "Perhaps, But I'd note that you've already characterized this interview negatively, and we're barely 3 minutes in. That suggests the problem might not be my questions. Ed tried to redirect. Let's talk about something positive. The brand. As ever. We've heard a lot about it. What's the vision? Meghan turned to him with visible relief. As ever is about creating elevated everyday moments, products that bring intentionality to daily life. That sounds lovely, Susanna said, cutting back in. But there's been news recently. Netflix stepping back as a partner. Your show not getting renewed. What happened there? Meghan's relief evaporated. Partnerships evolve. We're taking the brand independent. Independent meaning without Netflix's backing. That's a significant change from your launch. It's strategic repositioning. Whose strategy? Because from the reporting, it sounds like Netflix made a decision that the investment wasn't paying off. Reporting can be inaccurate. Is that specific reporting inaccurate? Did Netflix want to continue and you said no? Meghan paused. The pause stretched too long. The situation is more nuanced than headlines suggest. Then explain the nuance. That's what interviews are for. I'm not going to discuss internal business negotiations on television. You discussed plenty of internal family negotiations on television. Why are business details different? The tension had become thick enough to touch. Ed shifted uncomfortably. I think we should acknowledge that business conversations are often confidential, he began. Susanna didn't let up. They are, but she's come here to promote a brand. Part of promotion is explaining what's happening with that brand. Viewers are curious about the Netflix situation. It's relevant. It's relevant to people who want to see me fail, Meghan said, her voice dropping. Or it's relevant to people who are genuinely interested in your business. Not everyone asking questions is an enemy. In my experience, most are. That's a sad way to view the world, and I'd push back on it. I'm sitting here asking you about your work you've said you want to discuss. The defensiveness is coming from your side. Meghan's face flushed. I'm not being defensive. You've characterized my questions as interrogation. You've suggested I want to see you fail. You've refused to answer basic inquiries about your business. That's defensiveness, Meghan. I'm just calling it what it is. Ed put a hand up slightly. Perhaps we should take a different approach. The approach has been straightforward. I've asked about her relationship with Britain, her work, and her Netflix partnership. Those are 3 basic topics any interviewer would cover. She's treated each one like an attack. Let's talk about your father, Susanna said, pivoting. Meghan's entire demeanor changed, walls going up visibly. I prefer not to discuss that. You've discussed it before, extensively, on Oprah, in the documentary, through representatives. And I've said everything I need to say. But things have changed, haven't they? He's been publicly calling for reconciliation. He's been ill. At some point, the estrangement becomes its own story. It's a private family matter. Your husband wrote an entire book about private family matters. Your documentary showed private moments. Why is this different? Because I choose what to share. Selectively. When it supports your narrative, it's shareable. When it complicates it, suddenly privacy matters. Ed tried again. Susanna, maybe... I'm noting a pattern. The royal family issues, very public. Harry's conflicts with William, very public. But her relationship with her own father, private. The inconsistency is worth examining. Meghan's voice rose. There's no inconsistency. There's boundaries. Boundaries that shift depending on who benefits. That's not consistency. That's strategy. You don't understand my situation. I understand that you've discussed family estrangement at length when it involved your in-laws. You're less willing to discuss it when it involves your own family. That's noticeable. How's Harry? Every wall reinforced simultaneously. I'm not here to discuss my husband. Susanna's eyebrow arched. At all? This interview is about me, but you're publicly a team. Harry and Meghan. Everything is joint. The foundation, the Netflix deal, the brand. Making him off limits removes significant context. I have my own identity. You do, but you've also built your public presence on coupledom. The documentary was Harry and Meghan. The foundation is co-run. You can't invoke the partnership when it helps, and claim individual identity when it doesn't. I'm not invoking anything. You're managing a narrative. Every answer is calculated. Every topic is either approved or off limits. This isn't conversation, it's performance. Ed leaned in. Meghan, I think if you could just share something about how things are going. Things are fine. We're focused on our work. That's quite vague, Susanna noted. There have been rumors, living apart, different schedules, growing distance. Fabrications. I didn't ask if they were true. I asked about the rumors themselves. Why do they persist? Because tabloids need content, but it's not just tabloids anymore. Mainstream outlets. Sources close to you. Either you have a significant leak problem or there's something to the reports. Meghan stood up slightly, then forced herself back down. There's nothing to them. Then why the difficulty discussing him? If everything's fine, saying so should be easy. Because everything I say gets weaponized. By whom? Me? Right now? I'm asking how your husband is doing. That's a friendly question. The hostility is in your interpretation, not my asking. Ed made one more attempt to calm things. Look, I think we've covered a lot of ground. Maybe we could talk about something lighter. The products, the lifestyle brand, what viewers can expect. We've asked about the products, Susanna said. She won't discuss the Netflix situation. She won't explain what the brand actually does beyond buzzwords. I'm not sure what's left. Meghan's composure cracked. What's left is treating me with basic respect. I've been respectful. I've asked questions and listened to answers. I've given you multiple opportunities to explain your perspective. You've blocked every one. Because your questions are hostile. Name one hostile question. Specifically, which question was hostile? Meghan's mouth opened, closed. You can't because there wasn't one. I asked about Britain, your work, Netflix, your father, and your husband. Those are the most basic topics any interviewer would cover for someone in your position. You've treated each one as an attack. The framing. There's been no framing, just questions. Direct, clear questions that you could have answered straightforwardly. You chose not to. That's on you, not me. I came here hoping for genuine engagement, Meghan said, her voice hard. So did I. I've been engaging. You've been defending. There's a difference. You've been attacking. I've been interviewing. In Britain, interviews include questions, sometimes challenging ones. If you can't handle that, perhaps you shouldn't have come on a show known for challenging interviews. Ed winced slightly. Susanna, I'm stating facts. This show has a reputation for asking tough questions. She booked the show. She knew what to expect. Coming in and then complaining that questions are asked is strange. Meghan grabbed her purse from beside the chair. I think we're done. Are we? Because you've been here for 15 minutes and I still don't feel like I've learned anything. What has Archwell accomplished? Won't say. What happened with Netflix? Won't say. How's Harry? Won't say. What's left? Talking points and grievances. I gave you plenty. You gave me marketing language and accusations of hostility. That's not an interview. That's a press release interrupted by complaints. Ed stood partially. Meghan, perhaps if we just... No. Meghan's voice was final. I came here to discuss my work. Instead, I've been interrogated about my family, my business, my marriage. This is exactly what I expected from British media. Susanna remained seated, completely calm. Then why come? If you expected interrogation, why book the interview? Unless you wanted the conflict. Unless victimhood is the brand now. Meghan moved toward the exit, then turned back. You're just like Piers. The name hung in the air. Susanna's expression flickered, something between amusement and steel. Piers walked off this show because he couldn't handle being questioned about his opinions about you. I'm not walking anywhere. I'm sitting here, doing my job, asking questions. The person walking off is you. Because this is hostile. This is journalism, British journalism. We ask questions. We expect answers. We note when answers don't make sense. If that feels hostile, maybe examine what you're hiding. I'm not hiding anything. Then why can't you answer basic questions? What has Archwell accomplished specifically? You couldn't tell me. What happened with Netflix? You wouldn't explain. How's your relationship with your father? Off limits. How's Harry? Off limits. The things you're willing to discuss are all positive talking points. The things you won't discuss are all complications. That's not transparency. That's curation. Meghan's face contorted. History will vindicate me. Maybe. History will also remember this interview, where you came back to Britain for the first time and couldn't handle Good Morning Britain. Not Newsnight, not Panorama, breakfast television. And you walked off. Meghan left the set. The door closed behind her. Susanna turned to Ed, who looked visibly exhausted. Well, that happened. Ed rubbed his face. I tried to calm things down. I know you did. There wasn't anything to calm. Every question was a provocation to her. That's not my doing. Susanna turned to face the camera. I want to address what just happened, because in my 12 years on this show, I've rarely experienced anything quite like it. She paused, composing her thoughts. Meghan Markle came here to promote her brand and discuss her work. I asked about those things. I also asked about topics that any interviewer would raise. Her relationship with Britain, the Netflix situation, her family. She characterized each question as hostile. She accused me of being like Piers Morgan, which, for the record, I'll take as a compliment, because whatever else he was, Piers asked questions. Ed nodded slowly. It did feel like every topic was treated as an attack. Because it was. In her mind, every question is an attack. That's the worldview she's constructed, one where everyone who doesn't accept her narrative without question is an enemy. I'm not her enemy. I'm a journalist. There's a difference. She addressed the camera directly. Meghan, if you're watching, and your team certainly will be, I want to say this clearly. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was trying to understand you. I asked about your work. I asked about your family. I asked about your marriage. Those are normal interview topics. You made them impossible to discuss. You've said you want to be judged by your work. Then show us the work. Describe it specifically. Explain what Archwell has accomplished. Tell us what As Ever actually does beyond buzzwords. Give us something concrete. Because right now, all we see is grievance. All we hear is complaint. And that's not a brand. That's a wound you keep reopening. She leaned back slightly. You compared me to Piers Morgan. Piers left this show because of you, because he questioned your Oprah interview and refused to back down. You framed that as your victory. But here's the thing. His questions were legitimate. Some of your claims didn't hold up. The Archbishop didn't marry you 3 days early in your garden. The timeline of your relationship with your